Hey, Rashonda here. We are reading Hagar's Daughter by Pauline Hopkins. I'm scooching around in my chair. I'm rolling away. I'm struggling a little bit. Anyway, we are on chapter 11. Who is she? That's a good title for a chapter in this book because I've got all kinds of questions about who all sorts of she's are. All right, chapter 11. Who is she? At 8 that evening, theater was filled to overflowing, for Modjeska was to interpret the heartbreaking story of Camille. Senator Bowen and his handsome wife, Jewel and Cuthbert Sumner, occupied a box and were watching intently the mimic portrayal of life. Jewel was listening earnestly to Modjeska's words. The grand rendering of the life story of a passionate, loving, erring, noble woman's heart touched her deeply. The high-bred grace, the dainty foreign accent, the naturalness of the actress held her in thrall, and she did not take her eyes from the stage. As the curtain went down on the second act, she lifted her glass and slowly scanned the house. Suddenly she paused with a heart that throbbed strangely. Directly across from her sat a woman, young in years, but with the mature air of a woman of the world. Surely, thought Jewel, I know that face. The girl had a woman's voluptuous beauty with great dusky eyes and wonderful red gold hair. Her dress of moss green satin and gold fell away from snowy neck and arms on which diamonds gleamed. Just then, Sumner uttered an exclamation of surprise. He had turned, almost at the same moment with Jewel, and swept a careless glance over the house, bowing to several mostly well-known people, either by profession or social standing, but had declined to see more than one fair one's invitation. Passing, as it were, a box on the left, his glance had rested on a face that instantly arrested it and caused him to exclaim. An elderly man sat with a vision of loveliness. In repose, the girl's face lost some of its beauty and seemed careworn. One felt impressed that girlhood's innocence had not remained untouched. The lady was watching their box intently, and seeing herself discovered, smiled a brilliant smile of recognition as she inclined her head in Sumner's direction, holding his glance for one instant in a way that seemed to call him to her side. He bowed, then turned his head away with a feeling of confusion that annoyed him. He did not offer to go to her, however. What? I am intrigued. Let's keep going. Do you know her? Who is she, Cuthbert? Asked Jewel, intercepting both smile and bow. It is Miss Madison, he replied, lifting his glass nonchalantly. I did not know she was in Washington. I have not seen her for 3 years. Looking remarkably well, is she not? She is glorious. Her face somehow seems familiar to me. I must have met her. Have you seen much of her? Can't say that I have. Met her at a ball at Cape May, but I found the place so dull I packed up and went home. After that, I went abroad. Then I met a sweet little woman who has led me captive at her chariot wheels ever since. Oh, isn't that cute? He's trying to cover up that he got a little Twitter pated when he looked over at what's her name, Miss Madison, over in her box with her dress of moss green and gold and her white shoulders and the being the vision of loveliness that she is, who Jewel thinks she's seen before, who Cuthbert has definitely seen before and is attracted to. What? Ooh, all right. Okay. Then followed some talk dear to the souls of lovers, and the beauty opposite was forgotten. But throughout the next act, Jewel felt her heart contract as the dusky eyes followed her movements with the restless, smoldering fire in their depths that pained her to see. All right, this is the second time we've heard dusky. You know we pay attention to color cues. I mean, her eyes are dusky. What else is dusky? Great dusky eyes, wonderful red gold hair. I bet her red gold hair looked great with that moss green and gold dress. Snowy neck and arms, diamonds. This has nothing to do with anything, but I just thought of a Paul Simon song, Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. Okay. Anyway. All right, so then followed some talk dear to the souls of lovers, and the beauty opposite was forgotten. But throughout the next act, Jewel felt her heart contract as the dusky eyes followed her movements with a restless, smoldering fire in their depths that pained her to see. So Miss Madison apparently also recognizes Jewel, or she's wondering who the woman is who's with Cuthbert Sumner. At any rate, we've got some interest happening. Amelia Madison watched the box opposite with hungry intensity. She was studying Jewel's face, mentally saying, "There is not another woman in the house like her. She is like a strain of Mozart, a spray of lilies. My God, how he looks at her. He never looked at me like that. He respects her. He worships her." Okay, so a little insight into how Cuthbert Sumner at least appears to feel about Jewel, which is nice to hear. Why are people worshiping each other, though? I'm still struggling with that. But that also leads me to believe that when he was with Amelia Madison, he neither respected nor worshipped her. Was she a mistress? So many questions. All right. My God, how he looks at her. He never looked at me like that. He respects her. He worships her. She sank back in breathless misery. Aurelia Madison. Okay, on page 91, it says her name is Amelia Madison, but on 92, it says Aurelia Madison. I have a note to look at page 78. Oh, I'm glad I wrote myself that note. Okay, so on page 78, Benson and Sumner are talking, and Benson asks Sumner, "Is Amelia come?" And then he says, "Yes, got here last night." Good. It's a relief to be with a woman who can join a man. So why we didn't know who that Amelia was? Is it this Amelia / Aurelia? Why the name change? Was it simple like mistake by our author, or is there something, dare I say, more sinister afoot? Maybe not. All right, Aurelia Madison and Cuthbert Sumner had met one summer at Cape May. They had loved and had been betrothed, had quarreled fiercely over a flirtation on her part, and had separated in bitterness and pain. And yet the man was relieved way down in the corner of his heart, for he had felt dimly after the first rapture over that he was making a mistake, that she was not the woman to command the respect of his friends nor to bring him complete happiness. Yet after a fashion, she fascinated him. Her grace, her beauty thrilled his blood with rapture that he thought then was love. Love came to him a later guest, and the purity and tenderness of Jewel's sweet face blotted out forever the summer splendor of Aurelia Madison's presence. Now it was all over. He knew he had never loved her, and that he was fortunate to have found it out in time. They had a summer fling. Anybody else thinking of Greece? Summer days, but on the whole summer nights, so wella. All right, as you have seen in the past couple of times, I always have a song going through my head. Maybe not always, but often. But summer flings, they're kind of notorious. Anyway, they had a summer fling, Aurelia, Amelia, and Cuthbert. And he didn't think she was a woman who could command the respect of his friends, but he was fascinated by her. I don't know what that means to him. I think of in other literature I've read of this time period, dalliances people had, particularly white men with women who may have looked white but weren't. I am always on the lookout. Okay, so let's keep reading. No one knew of this episode of Aurelia Madison's life. Her father had been away on one of his periodical tours, and the girl was accountable to none but an old governess who acted as chaperone. Since that time, she had led a reckless life, had lived at Monte Carlo 2 seasons, aiding her father in his games of chance, luring the gilded youth to lose their money without murmuring. That's interesting. Hers had been a precarious life and a dangerous one. Sometimes they were reduced to expedients, but through it all, the girl held her peace, set her teeth hard, and waited for the day when she should again meet Cuthbert Sumner, trusting to the effect of her great beauty and the fact that he had once loved her passionately, to reestablish her power over the man she worship again. Once his wife, she told herself, she would shake off all her hideous past and become an honest matron. Honesty she viewed as a luxury for the wealthy to enjoy. Thank heaven Cuthbert Sumner's wife could afford to be honest. They had met again, but how? All her hopes were dust. She is assuming Jewel is his wife, but she is not. But whoa, okay, so Aurelia gambled with her dad, helped her dad run games on people. Sometimes they were living hand to mouth. She didn't believe honesty was something that she could afford. Honesty is a luxury for the wealthy, and she wants to reestablish her power over Cuthbert Sumner. What? Wow. All right. Now she saw Jewel, lifted her eyes to his with devotion, love, and faith in them. She saw him look down eagerly with truest, tenderest love. The last act was on. She could bear it no longer, but rose impatiently with rage and hatred in her heart, and attended by her father, left the house. When next Jewel stole a glance in the direction of the stranger, her place was empty. Oh, like I feel like an episode of Maury Povich is about to happen. Chapter 11 is over and we are done for right now, but I'm excited about what's coming up next. Until next time.